Hey guys, today I have an amazing interview for you guys with Nyla. Now, Nyla was 19 years old, working at Starbucks, and then she went on to land herself a $60K a year technology sales rep position. So if you want to learn how she did it, you want to learn more about her story and her journey, then make sure you stick around and watch the entire interview.
So I'm really excited to be able to share your story with other students who might be interested in our program or are currently going through our program and want to get excited to be able to finish it.
Of course. Thank you for asking me to do this. I'm excited.
Yeah, so if you just want to start by sharing your background with us, what were you currently doing before the CourseCareers program? And I know you're pretty young, so if you want to tell us about that too.
Yeah, so I graduated high school like 2 years ago, so back in 2020. And before that, I had while I was in high school, I was really into technology already. So I took an AV class because I loved movies and I loved TV shows and I wanted to be more behind the scenes with it. And I also loved music, so I also later joined music technology class. Specifically, I was really into audio engineering. So I thought that was kind of what I wanted to do after high school. But shortly after I graduated, because I graduated at the peak of the beginning of COVID and went to college, and I was like, this isn't cut out for me. The hybrid wasn't really working out for me. And my motivation for school in general just died down tremendously. And so I ended up dropping out like 2 weeks after I went, and I decided to just work for a little bit. And I had been at Starbucks since 2019. And it was a good company, so I thought I would stay there for a little bit and just work. But I decided that I wanted to become Superwoman. So I ended up getting another job on top of Starbucks. And it was at Dick's Sporting Goods, and it wasn't a bad company, but I would open basically at Starbucks and then close at Dick's Sporting Goods.
Oh, wow.
So that was not fun. I mean, like, sure, I was getting paid, but I was like, I would rather do something where I'm getting paid what I'm getting paid now from one job, and I don't have to tire myself out, and I can just kind of sit down. So I ended up quitting Dick's Sporting Goods and kind of staying at Starbucks, and then I later went to this HVAC job, and that company, it was a small business, like 7 minutes from me. And it wasn't a bad company at first, but, you know, as time went by, a lot of red flags started popping up. So I decided I would leave that company after about 5 months. But it actually introduced me to cold calling and cold emailing. That's where my introduction and like leads and like invoices, that was my introduction to that. But I left that and I ended up getting a certification in audio engineering. So I ended up going back to like school, but I wanted to do more so trade. And then I ended up not using that certification as a job because I thought I wasn't really going to excel how I wanted to and the things I was going to be doing for audio engineering and like the entertainment business. I thought that wouldn't really help me in the long run, like, you know, mentally and emotionally. So I was on social media one day, and this was back in like September of last year, and I saw a TikTok on technology sales. It was a guy, he had like a really nice home, and a lady had stitched the video and she was like, yeah, technology sales is a really good field to get into because it's the tech field, but it's also, you don't necessarily need to have that coding background or like have a degree in like computer science or anything like that. I thought that was really interesting. I've already kind of had an introduction to sales and I love technology. So I was like, why not look more into it? So I ended up going on Google after I saw that TikTok, and it was like technology sales, and I read up on it, and I was like, this seems like a really cool opportunity, and I saw the career progression was really fast. That was really interesting to me. So I did some research online, and I found CourseCareers.
Awesome.
And it was, I read up on it. I know it said you guys had been around for a few years, but trying to help people, the beginning of the pandemic, trying to help people kind of transition into that field. Get more to that work from home based lifestyle. And I was like, that's really cool. So I ended up signing up to have a first initial phone call with Troy, and that was really nice. And then later, I decided I wanted to do it. And Troy actually was really nice and let me start a week before I got paid because he was doing the every other week $150. And I was like, I don't have $150 right now, but I'll have it this week. I'll have it next week. And he was like, it's okay. I'm going to go ahead and get you started on it now. And then we can just set up everything next Friday. So first thing Friday, that next Friday, I was like, Troy, I have money. Let's get this set up. And I went through the course in about a month and a week, or like 5 weeks. It was really nice. I did it when I was away from work because I worked early in the morning. So I was at home all afternoon. And I was also attending the weekly meetings that you had that were really nice and helped me get my cold calling experience up to par. And that was really nice to be able to have that, help and experience. And I was always able to reach out to you if I needed anything. And then I know you were like, when you interview for these companies that I have, make sure you understand the material as much as possible. And so I was like, I got it. I felt really comfortable at that moment. I was like, yeah, I got it. And then I interviewed for a company, Lease Query, which was a great company. And I did a lot of research. Their culture was great. But I was interviewing with Anthony, and he was really nice. But he could tell I didn't necessarily feel too comfortable with the material at first. So when I got a phone call back the next week, the recruiter was like, yeah, we're not going to go with you. And I just wanted to give you a reason. It's because you used your notes for majority of the interview. And I was like, oh, okay. So that was an eye-opener for me for that. So I was like, okay, well, Troy was not joking when he said that, because they were quizzing me on what was on the modules that you provided. And I knew it. I even had like docs specifically for terms I was still confused on. And he even said use the notes too. And that's why I was kind of like thrown off by it. That's why I was like, wait a minute, you just told me. It was like a trap almost. But it was good. It was a good thing he said that. Because after that, I was like, I really need to get down on these interviews. I need to get down on the material. And I eventually did. So when I got another interview for this company called Nylas, conveniently.
Yeah, and your name is Nyla, by the way.
And my name is Nyla. I was like, I hope they don't think I'm just applying because they have the same name. Like, I did a lot of research on that company. They were really nice. They have a lot of accolades for a positive culture. Their CEO is, he has an accolade for best CEO, I think from 2021. So that was really cool. And the team, the phone interview, to the interview with the sales development rep manager, all the way to the last interview with basically the whole team. I felt really comfortable because they had asked me, what did you learn? I was able to tell them a majority of what I learned. They were like, wow, that's really cool. And then I got the job. So that was cool. So that's where I'm at now.
Can you tell us a little bit backstory on this company? Because I know before you signed up, I joked with you about, hey, there's actually a company hiring sales development reps called Nylas.
I know, yeah. And I told them, I was like, my mentor mentioned you guys way before I even started this course. But I guess things didn't turn out right. But he still was like, definitely apply afterwards. And I was like, of course. Basically, the company, they work with APIs. That's their software. Specifically with contacts and calendars and emails. And so they work with integrating all those apps, those contact calendar apps, Gmail, and integrating them with a few lines of code so that people are able to manage thousands of accounts at a time.
Wow.
So that was really cool. I'm like, I don't know what API means, but I'll look it up. And I was able to make a little Google Docs or make a presentation for them and kind of explain in my own words what it was.
Yeah. And how old are you?
I am 19. I'll be 20 this year.
Okay, so you're 19 years old and you're currently working at Starbucks?
Yeah, right now I'm a manager at Starbucks.
Gotcha. So you're changing from a Starbucks barista manager to this technology API sales company. And what does that new position entail? Can you give us a little bit of background on the new position?
Yeah, so specifically with the SDR position, because you go from an SDR to a BDR later, and then you can go to an account executive. Specifically with that SDR position, I'm only working with inbound leads. And they just recently included a chat box into their website. Yeah. So they get a lot more traffic through there. And my position, what I would be doing is reaching out to those people who were on the chat box and basically help explain the Nyla software in more depth hopefully get them to another meeting to meet with the account executive. But I'm only working with inbound leads, so I won't be doing any cold calling for about a year, however long, until I get promoted.
Gotcha. And what does the day-to-day look like? What are the hours, and what does the pay look like, and benefits?
Yeah, so I can start with benefits first. At first, when I was doing research on the company on Glassdoor, they had, medical, dental, vision, all that, other things, a lot of stipends for personal development. It was like $2,500 a year on anything for personal development, $150 a month on like an Amazon. You can choose from Amazon to Starbucks. A lot of those small stuff that really was like, wow, like they really care about their employees. And just recently they started doing the 401k match or program in general. And at first they weren't doing that. So I was kind of like, I'm just kind of uneasy about that because I did want to do a 401k as soon as possible.
Yeah.
I was like, I joined at the perfect time. That's the only thing I wanted to do. Because I'm like, I'm going to hold off on the insurance until I'm 26, until I get off of my mom. So I was like, let me take advantage of that.
And if you did have to do in the insurance, what did that look like?
I believe they would cover like 100% of it.
Wow.
Something very helpful.
Yeah.
That's why I said they really care about their employees. My day-to-day would be, so they have locations in San Francisco, Denver, New York, Toronto, and then in Europe, London and Amsterdam. So they work 18 hours around the clock. So how the manager explained to me was that in the beginning, like from when you first start, so like 9 to 12, you're kind of on a chat box with your other team, and you're in blocks answering questions and reaching out to those inbound leads. And then later in the day, you'll have your lunch and then move on to emailing and more phone calling and stuff like that. So it's pretty, because it is inbound leading, so it's not necessarily I have to look up prospects, go on LinkedIn back and forth, but I'm still reaching out to a lot of people. I'm still doing research that way, updating my Salesforce and all that. So that's really what my day-to-day is. It's kind of pretty simple right now for that position.
For sure. And is this a fully remote position?
And so it's fully remote. They were remote first way before the pandemic started, which was really cool. But most of the team that I'm working with is based in Denver.
Gotcha.
So a lot of the people I'll be working with are an hour behind. So that'll be cool. They're working at 8 and I'm working at 9, or they're working at 9, I'm working at 10. So that's kind of cool too. But I think also, even though they're based in Denver, they still have a New York location. So I think I'll be working the Eastern Coast because I'm in Georgia. Yeah. I'm in that Eastern Coast time zone too, so I won't necessarily have to get up earlier or later.
Awesome. And how does this job compare to Starbucks?
With Starbucks, it's not a bad company. I will not say that's a terrible company, but I will say I want to get out of the physically being on my feet for 8 hours at a time or however long I'm there. I will say I would have left sooner if I didn't have my coworkers there, because sometimes it's kind of like, is it really worth it? But with this job, obviously it's more money, and I know you asked me about my salary. It's a 70-30 salary, so 70% base, 30% commission, which is something I was looking for because I wanted to have something I felt, if I have a bad month, I'm still, I'm going to be taken care of for that month too. But I would be getting, so I'm starting at 60,000 on target earnings. So 42 of that is base, and 18 of that is commission. And so with that company, they say most, if not all, of their SDRs meet their quota anyways. So I could see that number my first year.
Wow.
So that was cool.
And how does that compare to what you're currently making at Starbucks?
Right now, I'm making $17.78 at Starbucks.
And how many hours per week do you work?
I work about 30 to 35 hours a week.
Gotcha. So I think that's just about double what you're currently making then.
Yeah, so I think I made like 20,000 last year. So
3 times what you're making.
It's going to be triple what I'm making this year. It's a good thing I'm starting this year off really well. But I actually don't start with Nylas until March 14th because how they work, they want to onboard 2 people at a time. I don't know why, but I'm not complaining. It's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I still got a job. They still said yes. And that interview experience was really well. So.
And what would you tell any students who want to go through our course but are afraid they're not going to be a good fit for sales, the material's too complicated, or they won't be able to get a job afterwards?
Yeah, for the material, that material is provided to you for life. If you are on it and you're like, I don't know what's going on, just keep watching it over and over again. Take notes. I have Google Docs. I haven't used Google Docs since high school. And so I have like over 20 templates now, just based off material that I keep going back and forth to. Every other day, because I'm like, okay, I know I don't start my job till March. I need to keep my brain refreshed on some of these terms so that I can use them when March does come. So that material, those courses are there for you for life. And I also started to doubt myself too. There were times where I was like, maybe I might just hold off on this. This doesn't seem like a good fit for me. But at the same time, I was like, if I actually want to make any change in my life and any change in where I want to be in the next 5 years, I have to actually, take those steps. No matter how hard it gets, no matter if my self-esteem is low, I need to know if I keep pushing, if I keep trying, even if it's hard, it will get better for me. And like I said before, I didn't get the first job that I applied for. I didn't get that first company that you had mentioned to me. And it really, for like that first week, I was like, yeah, this definitely isn't for me, because I didn't even get that job. And that was just an intern position. That wasn't a full-on like SDR position. That was just the intern position. I was like, if I can't even become an intern, how am I even going to become a full-time SDR? How's that even going to happen? But when Nylas did get back to me, I said, okay, I'm going to use the information that I had from this failed interview and basically quadruple my efforts that I did for this. And so it ended up working out for me. So I will say, don't be afraid to hear no, because there's always going to be a yes in the long run. So that's what I'll say.
For sure. And I know you're very specific about which companies you applied for, and you ended up getting the job you really wanted at Nylas.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. And what does it feel like to be 19 years old with no degree? I'm assuming no student loans.
I do have no student loans. Yeah.
No student loans. Yeah. And now you have this technology sales position where you're probably going to be working with a bunch of college graduates.
Yeah. It feels good to know that, for a long time it was all, you have to have a degree in order to be making this amount of money in 5 years. Not necessarily right off the bat. You have to have a degree. You have to have 3-4 years of experience after the degree in order to get into this position. And it's like knowing that, somebody does have a degree in the same job that I'm in, but we all have the same experience. This is also their first job coming out of that degree. And when you're, in college, and I'm not knocking college, but it's also like you're not getting that, unless you find an internship somewhere, you're not getting that hands-on experience as somebody who takes that trade route, does the, sales development course, gets that internship for 3 months, and then that equals the bachelor's degree. You don't hear that every day. So, and fortunately for the company I'm in, a lot of people found Nylas, and they're all like, you don't need to know this material like the back of your hand on your interview. You need to have that ability to want to learn. You need to have that drive to want to be better. They're not looking at, okay, so can you code 20,000 lines for me real quick, and that's how you're going to get this job. It's, are you a human being? Are you a person? So
awesome. Well, I really appreciate you taking this time to do this interview, and I'm sure your story is going to help change a lot of other people's lives who want to be just like you, and are probably young and want to be able to start a career and just aren't sure if they're going to be able to do it. So your story is going to really, really help change their lives. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this interview. Thanks.
Yeah, of course. Appreciate it.